Welcome, guys. My name is Mamadou Diallo. Welcome to my YouTube channel.
I wanted to know, what is a wraparound mortgage?
Ooh, a wraparound mortgage. Let's say I buy a property subject to, I take over the mortgage, and every month that mortgage is 1,500. I can only also rent the property for 1,500 bucks. So if I buy a property subject to and the mortgage is 1,500 and I can only rent it for 1,500, I'm negative cash flow, right? There's no cash flow, right? Which is the number one rule for sub two deals or deals in general is cash flow. So a wraparound is when you buy a property subject to, you take over the mortgage, but you realize that that property doesn't cash flow as a rental. It's negative cash flow. So what we do is we decide, you know what, let me take this property and finance it to a homestead buyer that's going to buy, like, there's a lot of people out here, I'm sure you know it, that own maybe construction companies, hard workers, whatever, own lawn companies, but they can't qualify with the bank because they have bad credit, but they would love to own a home. They just don't have the credit. And so what we do is I take over a property subject to, let's say my underlying mortgage is $150,000 on the property that I just bought. But the potential ARV is, let's say, $200,000. And let's say my underlying mortgage, the interest rate on it is 3.5%. I take that and let's say I find a buyer named Carlos. I go, Carlos, hey, I have this property here. Carlos would love to have home ownership. I'll finance it to you for $200,000. Remember, what's my underlying mortgage? $150,000. I finance it to Carlos for $200,000. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to create my own terms. So, because now I am becoming Carlos's bank. You don't even need to close on the property if you want to. You can close on both the same day. That's irrelevant whether you already bought it or you just have it under contract. I at least have the property under contract as a subject to. I'm taking over the mortgage. It's $150,000 under underlying debt. I have a 3.5% interest rate. And let's say the mortgage still have like 30 years left on that mortgage. And then I decide, hey, Carlos, I'm going to finance you this property for $200,000. And I want you to give me 10% down as a down payment. And then I'm going to charge you 9% interest. Remember, how much interest did I get on my existing mortgage?
3.5, right?
3.5%. And then how much interest am I charging to Carlos?
9.
So what I did is I took my own terms and I wrapped it around the existing terms on that mortgage. Wrapping is literal. You take your own terms and you wrap it on existing terms that you already have. And then you finance it to somebody.
A lot more sense now.
That's what it is. So now I become Carlos's bank at $200,000 at 9%. He gives me a down payment. He pays me every single month. Now, on top of paying the mortgage for me, he's also paying me every month as his bank because I'm charging him 9%. And then let's say that I took over have 20 years left, but I'm giving Carlos only 5 years to cash me out.
I don't understand that part where you say that you're giving him 5 years to cash you out. Can you explain that a little?
I'm giving him 5 years to go and get his own financing and pay me out.
Okay.
I'm giving him a 5-year balloon. You know what a balloon is, right?
Okay, yes.
So as his bank, because most banks will give people 30 years, but that's conventional banks, right? In my bank, as Mamadou, I can do whatever I want. There is no appraisals. There is no government that is regulating me. I can do what I want. It's my bank. So I decide, hey, Carlos, I'm going to finance you this property. I don't need your credit. I don't care about your credit. I don't care about your job history. All I care about is your ability to pay me every month. So I just want to see pay stubs to make sure you're actually making income. I'm going to finance you to 5 years. And within that 5 years, you have to start working on your credit so that in 5 years, you can qualify for an actual traditional loan where you can get maybe 5%, 3%, whatever, and you cash me out. Does that make sense? Because I'm the bank, there is nobody comes and appraise that property. This is between me and Carlos. Whatever price I dictate, if Carlos agree now, you gotta be within a certain guideline. Let's say, for example, the house that I have is worth, the ARV is $200,000. I'm not gonna finance it to Carlos for more than maybe $250,000. Why? Because in 5 years, I still want Carlos to be in a position where he can qualify for a loan. I'm not gonna go ahead and finance him a house that is worth potentially $250,000, finance it to him at $400,000. That wouldn't make sense because now I'll put him in a position where he cannot go anywhere and get financing because the property won't appraise when he goes to get traditional finance. So I still have to be in a certain reasonable range, but I can dictate my price. I'm creating my own terms. And on top of that, I'm creating my own equity because I get a property at 150. There's a 150 underlying mortgage. And I decide, I'm going to finance this for 280. I just created all that equity out of the thin air. It wasn't there. And when I'm wrapping a house, I don't renovate it. I wrap it as is. Unless it's like a dump and it's not living. Because most people that we buy those properties, they're handy people. They can fix their own stuff. They just want home ownership and they can't. Every time they go to the bank, they're being told no, even though they have the money. Even if you're making millions a year as a business owner, it's really tough for you to go to the bank and qualify for traditional.
Right, exactly.
Literally. You know that, right?
Yes.
So it's not just like people that just no, it's just for credit. Like if you ask me right now what my credit score is, I don't know, and I really don't care because my property
Right.
I don't give a damn, right? So
Right.
those people, the value to them is I can get into home ownership. Nobody cares about my credit. He's a little bit flexible. Like Carlos can try to negotiate with me, and I have a lot of properties like that in Linticum Heights where I finance like Hispanic people. They'll go, listen, I just have 8%. How about I pay you a little bit on the monthly, but I give you a little bit less down? Or on the contrary, I want to pay a little bit less on the monthly, but I'll give you more down. But in a nutshell, a wraparound is you buy a property with terms, and then you take your terms, you wrap around those existing terms that you just got.
Yeah. And those terms just, would be a good idea for them to benefit you. So, yeah.
Yeah, to benefit both parties.
What I'm trying to say is that it should also more than anything benefit you because,
100%.
you have already terms that you're going by.
Yeah. 100%. The whole goal is creating cash flow, right? Here's what WRAP does for you. You get out from the landlord responsibility. If I finance you a property, Maria, like, is your house. You don't call me to fix toilets. If something breaks, you don't call me. You pay taxes and insurance. It's your house. It's not my house. I'm just the bank. The same way if you get a loan from Wells Fargo is not going to come and fix your toilets, right?
Exactly.
Same way. So that's the great thing about wraps. The bad thing about wraps is as a long-term investor that is playing the long game, I don't have the tax benefits because I lose deed and title. Now it's your house, Maria. You have the tax benefits because you're entitled in deed. But my cash flow every month is net. I have zero expense. If I'm cash flowing $900, that cash flow is net. There's no expense for me because it's your house. It's a really good strategy to do on properties that doesn't cash flow, that is negative cash flow as far as like rentals or Airbnb.
What is the benefit to you then when you do the wrap?
You do wraps when the property cash flows negatively as a rental, cash flow negatively as an Airbnb, and wrap will allow you to cash flow. Is Maria, if I get a property at 3.4% and I finance you at 9%, trust me, I'm cash. So what I'm saying is the benefit you as a seller on a wrap, my cash flow is net. I don't have expenses. Why? Because it's your house. Once I finance it to you, I'm just the bank. My benefit is I get a down payment. So I can not only I can pay myself upfront, then I get net cash flow every month. Sometimes there is wraps where the seller want to close fast, so you have to close on it, then you try to find a wrap buyer. But there is a lot of wraps that I've done where I don't close escrow. I lock up the property under contract and I go ahead and try to find a buyer within that 30 days or 60 days, and I close the same day with my seller and my wrap buyer.
Why is it that in underwriting wrap is so, they talk about that a lot?
Because when people are first starting and they want cash flow, most people don't have the money to buy a property. Let's say I come to you right now, Maria, and I say, hey, any cash flow is $500 a month. And I want you to pay me a $10K assignment, then you pay the closing costs, then you repair it, then you put a 10. All of that require money. Let's say everything, to take care of everything, you have to bring in $50K. You go, well, I don't have $50,000 laying down. I can't buy this deal. Well, guess what? If you wrap the deal, you don't have to bring that 50 grand down because who will bring that 50 grand for you? Not only you get in with zero money, but you also get paid up front by your buyer to cover all your costs. So if you find your wrap buyer will pay for you your assignment fee, will pay for you your closing costs, will pay for you for repairs, everything on their down payment. When we talk about creative finance, what are the multiple options you can turn a property into cash flow? Number one, Airbnb. Number two, rental. Number three, this option. Number four, wrap. Number five, midterm rental. Number six, sober living. Number seven, assisted living. And I can go on and on. There's so many ways. When you're underwriting a property, you should have all these options on the list. Give me a deal, whether it be cash or creative, it doesn't matter. Here's the steps on how you underwrite creative deal or whatever. When you're underwriting a deal for cash flow, the first question you have to ask yourself is, does this property cash flow as a rental, regular or long-term rental? What is one thing that never changed since the word real estate being created? Rentals will always be your safest and worst case scenario bet. Every month, my mortgage is $1,000. If I want to cash flow 500 gross cash flow on that property, how much do I have to rent it for? So after I pay the mortgage company $1,000, how much am I left with? 500. So if I'm left with 500, that's my gross, right? I only want to take the net. Now you have to take off the vacancy, repairs, taxes, and insurance. On average, you can round it up to 20%, Maria. Out of that $500, you have to take 20% and put it and allocate it in a savings account in case something happened to the property. So now, if you take that for $100, now you're left with 400. 400 now is your net cash flow. So your first underwriting process should always start as a rental. Then you cross that line. Okay, as a rental, this property cash flows. Now I can dig deeper. I like this. Is cash flow as a rental. The next line, you need to ask yourself one question. What is the highest and best use? Is there a way we can cash flow more? Maybe Airbnb could work. Why Airbnb? Because that's what we're doing right now. So if I underwrite a property as a rental and the cash flow is $500 positive a month, and then I move to my second step and I underwrite it as an Airbnb, and the Airbnb could bring in potentially $5,000 gross, and after all my expenses, I'm left with $2,500 or even $1,500 net a month. Which option should I choose to turn the property to? Airbnb. You look at it, you go step by step and try to see cash flow as a rental. Next step, Airbnb. Airbnb is way better. Let's do Airbnb, right? So that's where the 7 entry fee comes into play. First, cash to seller. How much money are we giving to the seller? Second, is there any liens or arrears that we're paying? Third, assignment fees. Are we paying ourselves an assignment or are we paying any wholesaler an assignment? Number 4, closing costs, because we have to close on it, right? Number 5, carrying costs. After you close on the property, is vacant, you might have to hold it 1 month or 2 and pay mortgage and lawn, maintenance and utilities and everything, right? Until you fill it with a tenant. 6, marketing fee. If I'm marketing the rental, maybe I have to put it on the MLS. Maybe I have to put it on Zillow. Pay Maria a commission. I'm paying Maria some peso. Number 7 is renovation. How much are we spending into the property to get it rent ready or Airbnb ready or whatever we're doing? But we have to, if it needs renovation, then we have to renovate it. So you always need to have that on your list when you're underwriting the property so you can check it off. So when I'm underwriting the property, I'm going, okay, what is the cash to seller, guys? 10K? Okay, I'm writing 10K, cash to seller. Is there any arrears? No, there is no arrears. Okay, I write 0. Is there any liens that we're paying? No, 0. Is there any? Then I write, right? Assignment. Are we paying any assignment to any wholesaler? No. Are we paying ourselves an assignment? Yes. Okay, I'm writing it 5,000, 10,000, doesn't matter. 5, closing costs, but on average, you can average it out. 5,000, if it's Maryland, you can assume it's going to cost between 7 or 8 grand. Carrying cost is always 2 months. We always allocate 2 months. Let's say we're underwriting a sub 2 and my monthly mortgage is $1,500. If I'm allocating 2 months for carrying costs, how much do I write down? 3,000. Look at the property, you look at the pictures, you look at the videos, you go, this property might need 30K this as a rental. This property might need 50K as a rental. I'm looking at the kitchen needs work, blah, 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 blah. I'm trying to find out what is the price per square footage. Then you add all those numbers up, whatever that total is, that is our what? We prefer credit finance, but we don't focus on credit finance. We specialize in credit finance, but we don't focus on credit finance. But every now and then we'll get cash deals. But when we get cash deals, usually, Maria, we look into wholesale, unless it's such a slam dunk deal that I cannot refuse. Otherwise, I'm looking to wholesale it and move on. Why? Because if I can buy a property creatively, why would I waste my time and drain all my money on one property?